Morning, everybody. Jack has asked that we begin today's service by singing number 163, one of my favorites, For the Earth Forever Turning. I hope you'll sing along.
For the earth forever turning, for the skies, for every sea, for our lives, for all we cherish, sing we our joyful song of peace. For the world we raise our voices, for the home that gives us birth. In our joy we sing, returning home to our blue-green hills of earth.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome to our April 19th Sunday service for this year of COVID-19 2020. We are celebrating and honoring World Holocaust Remembrance Day, as well as Patriots Day in Massachusetts and Earth Day coming up. And also the conclusion of Passover and the continuing season of Eastertide. Please make yourself at home, and which is probably where you are. Very happy that you're here with us today. By gathering online, we hope that we will not only maintain safety and connectedness, but find new avenues to greater fulfillment for ourselves and our world. To symbolize our devotion to the generational human tasks, we have a traditional Unitarian Universalist chalice lamp here. It's lit already. It signifies our search for greater communion, for greater enlightenment, and greater fulfillment. So here's to you. I only received one joy and concern for this weekend. It's a joy, and it's cheers to UU St. Pete's Virginia Fox with the assistance of her husband, Cal. They have organized a group called the St. Petersburg Mask Makers, and they have managed to deliver over 500 masks to some of the helping agencies in town, including the St. Vincent de Paul's Center for Hope for the Homeless, Ronald McDonald House, the VA Hospital at Bay Pines, the Salvation Army, All Children's Hospital, and Celebrate Outreach, which serves the homeless and unsheltered. We know also that some of our households in the church are very challenged by the times we're having now, by times of uncertainty, by times even of deprivation, and certainly sometimes fear on numerous levels. So let us keep one another in heart and mind. And if you have the intuition that somebody could use a contact, please email, phone, text, find out how they're doing. That would be greatly appreciated by all of us. And also, if you have joys or concerns that you'd like shared next week, please text or email me to let me know what they might be, and we will include them. Now, a little story for the children or the parents of children. I want to propose to you that you might not know that there are actually lots of Easter bunnies. We generally think of there being just one Easter bunny, but as you know, with bunnies, there often are quite a few of them wherever there's a couple. Well, there was one Easter bunny who was a particularly pesky bunny, always hopping around and eating the candy and nosing other people's business, very very, very troublesome. So the bunnies, the Easter bunnies, all decided that this Easter bunny had to stay in its burrow and just think about its effect on other people. So it obeyed. It went down into the rabbit hole, and it just thought and thought. It was very unhappy at first because it may have been pesky, but it was very friendly. It really liked other bunnies and all the creatures for that matter. It loved Bambi little fawns, for example. But it thought and it thought, and things got very quiet in the burrow. So quiet that the bunny could hear the voices of all the other bunnies up on the ground, having a good time. He missed them, but he was glad he could hear them. He could hear the birds, the bees, even the wind in the trees. He could hear the grass growing where he was, or where it was. I'm not sure if it was a boy or a girl bunny. It could, after a while, it could even hear the worms talking and the ants talking, and it was quite happy about that. So it began to be quite comfortable in its burrow, and it liked that little retreat. It wasn't hopping around all the time as it usually did, bothering people and annoying them. So it was kind of a happy bunny. After a while, the other bunny said, "Are you ready to come up?" And it did, and it came up, and the first thing it said was, "How is everybody doing?" And you know, it had never asked that question before. It always told people what it was doing, but this was the first time it asked, "How are you all doing?" And they were all very happy. And they said, "Well, we're just waiting for you to come back up here and help us get the eggs, the Easter eggs rolling." And that's what they did. That's the end of the story, and that's why we have so many happy Easter bunnies who are always bringing good things at Easter for us. So that's the story for this morning. Hope you like it. Feel free to share it. And now we're going to have a reading from Janae. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Janae Johnson. I'm the Religious Education Coordinator here at Unitarian Universalist Church of St. Petersburg, Florida. While we're maintaining our physical distancing during the COVID-19 troubles, our religious education programs has gone online. I hope you'll check our website for the link for the children's weekly online programs and activities. And if you're new here, we hope to see you in person before too long. But above all, stay safe and enjoy the home time. We're making our reading this morning into a UU type of game. Now, we're calling it Bet Your Life. The brain game, identify which passages belong to the prophetic voices of Anne Frank, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Alice Walker, Chief Seattle, Greta Thunberg, Henry David Thoreau, Hannah Arendt, Langston Hughes, Dolly Parton. Here we go, and good luck. This we know, all things are connected. If all the beasts are gone, people would die from great loneliness. The earth does not belong to humankind. Humankind belongs to the earth. All things are connected like the blood that unites us all. We did not weave the web of life. We are merely a strand in it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. Think about that. Who is that? The mass of humans lead lives of quiet desperation. I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what I had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discovered that I had not lived. Who's that? I believe God is everything. Everything that is or ever was will be. And when you can feel it, feel every part of everything, not separate at all, and be happy to feel that, you found it. Who's that? The Holocaust perpetrators did not need to close their ears to the voice of the conscious, not because they had none, but because their consciences spoke with a respectable voice, the voice of the respectable society around them. That's the difficult in these times. Ideals, dreams, and cherished hopes rise within us, only to meet the horrible truth and be shattered. It's really a wonder that I haven't dropped all my ideals because they seem so absurd and impossible to carry out. Yet, I must uphold my ideals, for perhaps the time will come when I shall be able to carry them out. I am 15 years old and I'm from Sweden. Many people say that Sweden is just a small country and it doesn't matter what we do. But I've learned that no one is too small to make a difference. And if a few children can get headlines all over the world just by not going to school, then imagine what we can do together if we really wanted to. What's that? Let America be great again. Let it be the dream it used to be, where never kings connive nor tyrants scheme, that anyone be crushed by one above. Oh yes, America never was America to me, and yet I swear this oath, America will be. Who's that? It's been a long, dark night, and I've been waiting for the morning. It's been a long, hard fight, but I see a brand new day coming. I can see the light of the clear blue morning. I can see the light of a brand new day, and everything's gonna be all right. Everything's gonna be okay.
I'm trying an experiment today for our Sunday service. I'm aiming for the reflections or the sermon to be maybe someplace between 5 and 10 minutes, so that we might have time to talk afterwards, and so that you won't get totally distracted and lost in the sermon. But this time, I just had time to write a long sermon. I didn't have time to write a short one. So what I've done is I'm going to put the long sermon online, and I'm going to talk from just a few notes in the hope that I can remember the important points and share them with you. So you just heard Janae read a poem known as The Concord Hymn by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Here once the embattled farmers stood and fired the shot heard round the world. I first heard that shot when I was 6 years old. I just turned 6 by about 2 weeks. My family had recently moved to Concord, Massachusetts. I was sleeping peacefully in my bed, and suddenly a horrible blast shook the house, almost knocked me out of bed, but it certainly woke me up. And it was quite frightening just for an instant. And then I heard all kinds of other shooting and banging and tremendous noise. So I ran out and asked my parents what was going on. Well, it turns out that every April 19th, Concord, Massachusetts celebrates the beginning, or what could be called the beginning of the American Revolution. In 1775, British troops marched on Concord to destroy military weapons or weapons in general, and instead they were met by a group of farmers and workers of all kinds at the Old North Bridge in Concord. And this was the first time there was ever an exchange of fire between not only the British but the Americans firing back. The Americans killed, when they shot, they killed all of the British officers, which threw the British soldiers into a tremendous panic, and they went into retreat, but in a very disorderly way. They didn't have their officers, and they were used to just obeying them, so they all just ran, left their weapons and ran. The so-called Minutemen of the American side of things sort of followed them along the road back to Boston, certainly as far as Lexington, and shot at them from the woods. And they killed 200 British soldiers, as I recall the number. It shows you what happens when there is that retreats can go wrong. If they are disorganized, if they are chaotic, disaster can follow. And that is what happened to the British soldiers that day. A lesson about retreats that aren't well planned. 6 years later, I was 12 years old. It was summertime. Our recreation director for our summer playground program decided that instead of baseball that day, we would have a scavenger hunt. That sounded good to us boys, and we took off from Emerson Playground, which was our home base, out to Thoreau Street, and then down to Alcott School, and then back to Thoreau Street, and then down to Walden Street, and over down to the Millhopper stream that ran under Thoreau Street. And there we found the next, what we thought might be the last clue, and it said, by the rude bridge that arched the flood. So we thought we knew just what that meant. So we took off running for the Old North Bridge. It was 2 or 3 miles away. Some of our slower friends, one in particular, kind of, we called him Porky. He was slow getting to the Thoreau Street Bridge, and he kind of called out to us, and we said, we're heading to the Old North Bridge. He, 2 to 3 miles away, he said, oh, go ahead, I'm just going to stay here. Have good luck. So he sat under, along the stream bank right by the bridge. And he was enjoying the stream going by and resting in the cool. And then he sort of reread the clue, and he noticed that the Thoreau Street Bridge was kind of rude itself, kind of crude. And he wondered, well, could this be the bridge? That never occurred to the rest of us. We never asked the question. But he started looking around, and under the bridge he found a Ted Williams Louisville Slugger, which any of us kids would have killed to have. So it sort of was a lesson, if we had been wise enough to take it, that the race is not always to the fast. The prize is not always won by the quickest. The swift don't always win. Sometimes the reflective, slower person is going to see another reality, and that's exactly what happened in that case. That it is worthy to know that sometimes the chaotic response, whether in revolutions or in hunting for prizes, can go awry when we are too quick. A retreat can go awry, but sometimes a retreat, taking your time, can be just the thing to give you a new perspective and to see where the prize might actually be in a given situation. So revolutions are not that trustworthy, especially when they're rapid and also not planned. Retreats can be valuable if we plan them out. And we are certainly in a time of retreat right now. If revolutions aren't trustworthy, what about evolution? Well, the problem with evolution is it is very, very slow. If we had looked around at the Millbrook under Thoreau Street, we would have noticed that it ran and drained a large old glacial basin that stretched out in Concord almost out to Walden Pond, where Thoreau had lived. And the stream went underneath the town and then down to the river, then down to the Old North Bridge, and then out to the sea, finally. There was, once upon a time, a plethora of wildlife that lived there and human life as well, going back 12,000 years, coming in after the last of the really big ice ages. People had flourished there as well as the other creatures, and they didn't really impinge upon each other very much. There was not a lot of extinction going on because of the human predators. We kids loved to find old arrowheads and that kind of thing that were left over from those days, but there were no indigenous people left, and many of the creatures had gone. The forest cover of the town of Concord had been reduced to about 10% of its original covering. Thoreau, when he went out to Walden, noticed this. He wrote about it as a real concern, and he was writing about it around 1850, at the very same time that Chief Seattle on the Pacific Northwest coast was giving speeches about that same thing. You are destroying the earth, and the earth is your mother. We are but threads in the web of life. You heard that reading a little bit today. That was from Chief Seattle. Being so aggressive, not ever taking time to ponder what we were doing, has had a devastating effect, and Thoreau mentioned that. Now, we think of Thoreau as having done just what he said in the book Walden, that he chose to go out to Walden Pond and live in isolation, to come to grips with life and to see what its real essence was. And as he said, to live that essence and not find, when he came to the end of his life, that he had not lived a real life. Wonderful. That's mainly what happened. But in fact, at the time when he decided to go out to Walden Pond, he was having a lot of struggles in his life. He was not getting along well personally, and he was not getting along well socially. But he did have friends, and they said, to save your own life, you've got to go and live in some isolation and think things through. Well, he did that, and it was one of the greatest investments of 2 years that a human being has made. So what Anne realized was that she could not live without her own ideals. That is what gave her hope for her life. It was similar for Thoreau, I think. He peeled down the things that he considered necessities for life that were commonly thought of as necessities by the culture around him, and he found that a lot of it wasn't necessary, and that he had greater clarity of mind and a sense of peace when he was no longer concerned about those things. Those experiences, whether they are the retreats from an Old North Bridge battle, or a retreat in hiding from the Nazis, or a retreat from all of the confusion of the world that a young man like Thoreau might experience, or the kind of retreat in desperation from the devastation to the natural environment, or the retreat from economic power that Thoreau saw all around him in the working people of the world, devastated and living lives of desperation because they no longer had a say. The dreams, the egalitarian dreams of the revolution had dissipated, and people didn't even know. They thought this is the way it is. They were not asking what is our dream and what could be and why not. So this is something for us to take to heart during our required retreat. We can look at what is our own true world home. We have a little bit of time to sit and reflect, to do other things. We can go walking and we can wait and look. We can walk in nature amongst its creatures and see what do they provide us with and what are we doing to them. We can explore our own minds, go down the neurological pathways and rabbit trails, if you will, that influence our lives. Where are the fears and hungers that are driving us unnecessarily? What are the important things, the real values, as Anne Frank would have asked, that we want to live by, the real ideals? We can explore other minds in books, documentary films, the work of the great artists, or any artist who is trying to communicate through image and metaphor a deeper truth about life, or a different truth. Sometimes it's just the different truth, like the boy at the bridge who just took a different way, a different approach, and he saw differently, and he found something special. We can explore our own creativity during our so-called downtime. It doesn't need to be downtime. It can be the highest, uppest time that we experience in our whole lives. Writing poetry, haiku, is this wonderfully intense little easy form, and yet very hard form to follow. 5 syllables in the first line, 7 in the second line, 5 in the third. Often nature focused, looking hard at what's around us and what's within us, looking at nature outside and then drawing it inside to say, what does that mean? and finding often quite significant meaning. We not just poetry and writing, but drawing, the crafts, cooking, service to others, whether it is making masks and bringing them to those in need, bringing food, just contacting people we know are in need. The question is, what do we believe, and what is changing in our beliefs because of this time that we have to reflect and examine and explore? For me, I do see, along with Dolly Parton, a new day dawning. I do believe that we can wake more, rise more, that we can shine more. I do believe that there is more of life that we can learn about than we've ever known before if we take the time. I do believe that we can dream a new world other than the world we've been living in, rather asleep to it, and we can build foundations of our own under that dream and turn it into a supported reality for all people, for the well-being of all. So I'd ask, how about you? What realizations have you come up with over the last 5 weeks? Have you spent time enjoying the solitude, the forced, the required withdrawal from many activities, and have you put that to use to examine how you see the world, how you feel the world operates, how it could operate, and how you could operate in it to make it a better world? What new challenges, what new hopes, what new resolve are you carrying forward for a new world and a new life? It's the end of the sermon. I would love to hear what you have come up with regarding your resolves, any new discoveries for resolving the problems of the world and fulfilling the potentials that we have within us in this world. Maybe just a one-sentence thought that you might send to me on this time of coronavirus, your discoveries, your new resolves that have come to you during this time of retreat in the coronavirus. Maybe we could share them with the whole congregation. Look forward to hearing from you, and now we're going to continue with our service. We'll hear from Janae and her offerings, and then some announcements, and then a song from John and James, and then a closing.
Now it's time for the offerings. We're still going full steam with our church programs, maintaining the office, maintaining and renovating our building, multiplying our online programs for children and adults, keeping us in a supportive connection with one another in these estranging times. All of us are depending on all of us to keep the connections and support, including letting the giving team and the board what you will pledge to our budgetary needs as we build our future. From the children, we give many thanks. And now, time for our announcements. Former UUSP President Paul Brunner will soon be hosting Zoom meeting discussions one evening a week, alternating between movies and poetry. Get Paul Brunner's information on InfoNet announcement on the movies and metaphors section, and be in touch to let him know if you prefer Tuesday or Thursday evenings and whether or not 7 p.m. works for you. Also, please check out our newsletters, InfoNet, the RE Weekly newsletter, and Caring and Connected, for more news about our online activities like the Wednesday religious studies discussions and weekly meditations, and to work with our caring committee. Thank you so very much.
Ain't no miracle being whole. People doing it every day. Ain't no miracle growing up. People just roll that way. So it goes. like it goes, like the river flows, and time keeps rolling on. And maybe what's good gets a little bit better, and maybe what's bad gets gone. Bless the child of a working man. She knows too soon who she is. Bless the hands of a working man. He knows his soul is his. So it goes, like the river flows, and time keeps rolling on. And maybe what's good gets a little bit better, and maybe what's bad gets gone. So it goes, like the river flows, and time keeps rolling on. And maybe what's good gets a little bit better, and maybe what's bad gets gone. We're all hoping what's bad gets gone sooner than later. In the meantime, stay safe and healthy, everybody.
Now some words of closing. There was a last-minute announcement that I'm trying to squeeze in. It reads, please plan now to attend a live online virtual town hall meeting next Sunday, April 26th at 11:15 to 11:45. You'll get an update on the pledge campaign results, budget plans, nominations for church officers and board members, and a discussion of how to hold our annual meeting in May. Then you can stick around on Zoom for a virtual coffee hour if you'd like. Thanks very much. And now our closing words, rather strange, but I think fitting for the times. There were 5 people on an airplane that was about to crash. They are the President of the United States, the CEO of ExxonMobil, the oldest member of the U.S. Supreme Court, the minister of an evangelical megachurch, and a young woman named Greta, really a girl named Greta. The CEO says, I need one of these parachutes because I need to make sure that people have petroleum in order for the economy to recover. The minister says, I need one because the people need to hear that God will provide immunity for the faithful. So both of them grab chutes and out they go. The president says, I need one because I am the smartest person in America and I am doing a beautiful job controlling the coronavirus, but I need to be on the job. So he grabs the chute and out the door. The old Supreme Court justice turns to Greta and she says, you know, sweetheart, I am very important for the future of a just, sustainable, fulfilling America and Earth. But I'm very old, and people know my stand already, and they must take up the work themselves. You are young and already one of our much-needed new leaders. You take the last parachute. And Greta says, No need for either of us to be lost, Ruth. There are still 2 parachutes. The smartest person in America just grabbed my book bag. I know. But the point is, there is such a thing as self-destruction. My prayer for us is that we don't do that, and that we make sure others are not collateral damage to those who do. So be at peace. Live for goodness sake. And I hope to see you soon.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow